Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Continuing my coverage from CES 2020, hopefully my voice is not too bad right now, but I'm doing my best to bring you everything that I did last week while in Las Vegas. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build great websites, to create a beautiful online presence, and to run your business. Find links in the description for 10% off your first purchase. In any case, we're taking a look at something that you probably are aware of, but I wanted to give some of my thoughts on the OnePlus Concept One. Now, first and foremost, there's really not a whole lot different about this particular phone, especially when it comes to the specifications. It's basically a slightly rebranded and also slightly redesigned OnePlus 7T Pro McLaren edition. There's still powerful specifications underneath that display, which is a 90Hz refresh rate display, by the way, and you still get the same 3 cameras on the back. But of course, the main story here is the fact that the glass on top of the cameras can actually get darker and make it seem like the cameras fully disappear. Now, we'll get to that in a second, but I did want to talk about just the overall design of this phone because honestly, this might be my favorite looking OnePlus device ever. That signature McLaren orange comes in on this leather backing that gives the phone a lot of good grip and makes it very comfortable in your hands. And then the curves on both the back and the front make the phone feel a lot thinner than you might expect. Also, oddly enough, the phone actually felt pretty light, so that's something that I really want to see OnePlus bring to even more phones moving forward is this super sleek design. It seems like they've really gotten it right in this concept phone after the OnePlus 7 Pro and the 7T and the 7T Pro, of course. Now, the phrase that I use where I say you get doesn't really apply here because OnePlus pulled an automotive move that you usually see at trade shows like this and created a concept device. This is not something that you're going to see come to market because this is just a way for OnePlus to show the different features that they can achieve on certain devices, and they'll probably show up on other ones in the future, maybe like the OnePlus 8 and beyond. Still, I wish that this phone was actually going to come to market. The McLaren editions tend to look really awesome, and this one in particular is, like I said, my favorite one. It would be really awesome to actually get this phone because it's still powerful enough and still tuned enough to be an everyday phone, but again, they probably just made enough for the demo that we had in CES 2020. So let's go ahead and get into the big feature of this, and that is that disappearing camera. What I find interesting about this is we've started to see some disappearing cameras in other phones, rather concepts of it. You might remember that not too long ago, I actually got to see a disappearing camera on the front of a phone. Now, it's not exactly that technology coming to the back of this OnePlus Concept One. Instead, what OnePlus has done is taken this technology that's been around for a little while in automotive and aerospace engineering and bringing it to that glass panel on the back. You might have been on a Virgin Atlantic or a Virgin America flight where there's not actually a panel that's on the window of your seat. Instead, there's like a button and you can press that button and the actual glass gets darker. That's the kind of technology that OnePlus brought to the camera optics. The result is the back of a phone that, even though you can still tell it's a phone, you don't have those glaring camera holes on the back, as opposed to many applications right now where you have big squares like on the Pixel 4 or on the iPhone 11. And to be honest, I kind of love that. OnePlus is taking a different approach to what the cameras could look like on the back of a device. And of course, since this is a McLaren edition, you want that branding to really come out rather than the camera optics sort of popping in to what should be a clean backing. But there's another reason why this is also important, and it's the main reason why I'm excited about this particular concept. It's because that darkening glass on the back could actually be used as an ND filter. So, if you don't know what an ND filter is, it's used in photography and videography applications in order to achieve a darker frame in situations where the surroundings are still too bright. There are some artistic applications to an ND filter as well. For example, if you want to keep a certain shutter speed on your camera for photos in order to achieve a certain motion blur with things that are in motion in your frame, you can do so by having an ND filter there, so you don't have to turn up the shutter speed on your camera in order to achieve proper exposure. In the same vein, if you're in a situation for video where the camera is just not able to expose it right because of the limitations of the camera, an ND filter helps to support that. And you know what? I even have a variable ND filter on me right now. I can change the strength of this ND filter, but ultimately, what I'm trying to do is keep ISO 400, 30 frames per second video, so 1/60 shutter speed, and f2.8 aperture to get some depth behind me. That's why I'm outside right now. But if the situation called for it, I can strengthen the ND filter like this, and I would have a darker frame that allows me to still get good exposure with the settings that I want. So that's why the OnePlus Concept One kind of proves that you can have extra features like that on the cameras. But there are a couple of things that OnePlus and maybe other companies need to figure out. Like for example, there's a pro mode in the camera app, which is great, so you can dial in those settings, but it's only for stills photography. It would be great to see a manual video mode so you can cater those settings for video and then turn on the ND filter. On top of that too, it is an ND8 filter, which is kind of the middle ground when it comes to how strong you want your ND filters to be. I tend to use a variable one, so I can just change it up when I want to, but most people might have an ND4 filter, which is lighter, ND8, which is what you get on the OnePlus Concept One, and then everything from 1632 and onward to get even darker ND filters in front of your lens for those various situations. Ultimately though, at least in my mind, a ND filter on a smartphone like this is something you lean on when you tap your subject and it's just not able to compensate for how crazy bright the scene is. So it's at that point that you tap and ideally lock your focus and exposure, and then you hit that ND filter so that everything gets a little bit easier to work with. But yeah, as far as a concept phone is concerned, this is one of the first ones I feel like that we've seen, because most of the time mobile phones that are introduced at CES tend to come to market eventually, but the OnePlus Concept One does prove a few things. OnePlus has been doing a great job not only with high refresh rate screens, great designs, their partnership with McLaren, but now they have introduced something else into the smartphone ecosystem that other companies are probably going to figure out how to do for themselves, but OnePlus might be able to bring it to market in future devices. I'm excited for that, and I want to see what a built-in ND filter would actually be like for phones like this. Shouts out to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. It's easy to claim a domain or URL of your own and then use Squarespace to bring your ideas and style to life in a professional website, online store, or portfolio. Many tools from Squarespace make websites easier. There are SEO tools, appointment scheduling features for your classes and sessions, and email campaigns to help grow and engage with your audiences. Analytics also help you quickly understand those audiences so you can learn what's working and how to improve your website. I'm actually building my own website using Squarespace right now, and it's really easy to make something that looks good and links to all of my various content. That way you will have a one-stop shop for everything JV, thanks to Squarespace. Check out all of the tools Squarespace provides to help you get your business and online presence off the ground. Visit Squarespace for a free trial, and then when you're ready, use squarespace.com/Joshua Vergara to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. But yeah, it's one of the more interesting things that we saw at CES 2020, but all of this week, I'm finishing up my content from the Consumer Electronics Show of 2020. Just got back from Vegas. Hopefully my voice will come back a little bit faster than usual. That's why I have my tea, of course. But on top of all of that, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on all of my social media at JVTechT, and then subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit that bell over on the side to keep up with all of the videos I'm going to be coming out from CES 2020, and then drop some likes on these videos and get into the comments sections down below. Wow, intro's getting actually longer because of all the things I want to say. In any case, I'm going to call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll just remind you to enjoy your tea, everybody. Take care of your voices.